It is the end of an era, and for better or worse, we know exactly where everybody stands. What's good, y'all? She gets this Erica Vane coming to you with our final All-American Homecoming episode breakdown. And in this one, I'm breaking down the series finale, season 3, episode number 13. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because while this is the end of an era, the final episode breakdown, there are quite a few other conversations I want to have about the characters within this universe, and those videos will be coming very soon, and you don't want to miss it. So you can only catch it in the moment if you are subscribed and you turn on your bell notifications so that YouTube can let you know when those videos are ready. If you're not new, welcome back, boo. You know how we do. And you can feel free at any given point to go check out my past live streams where I unpack and give you reactions and deep dive on this series, all of the characters in it, and my thoughts throughout the seasons. Those are available in the All-American Homecoming playlist. So much content. If you are in love with All-American Homecoming and you don't want the conversations to end, I got you as your good sister to talk TV with, and you can jump into that playlist to get your fix. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this finale, which, to so many people's points in my live stream, did not actually give series finale, but I will say for me, it gave enough for me to arrive at a place where I was okay with pretty much every character's ending except for like maybe 3. And I take that as a win, considering how off the rails I feel like the series had gone in season 2 and at the start of season 3. For us to arrive where we arrived at the very end, I'm like, okay, I will take what we got. There was pretty much no salvaging the Thea storyline based off of where they put us and took us, and then there was also kind of no salvaging the Damon storyline with him not really being in this season except for the season premiere and the series finale. So there was really nothing that they could do with them and the amount of time that they have with the characters with balancing the storylines of other characters. And in this breakdown, I'm gonna go character by character and let you guys know what I think based off of what we got to see, not only in this finale, but what we know about the character in the series. And I'm gonna start off with Damon, who, like I said, makes his return to the series in the series finale. And he is coming in as a call in from JR, who basically lost the sponsor, the potential booster for the baseball club team last episode, when we got to see him questioning his morals and if he was okay with just going along with this shiesty businessman just so that they can get money to support this team coming back. But when he walked away, he was able to lean on his brother, who basically, we learned in this episode, signed a deal with the Detroit Tigers. This is his first MLB team, and he is now officially a pro baller. And Damon has decided to take some of his salary and be able to fund the Brinkston baseball club as it is returning. So he comes back, and that's where we first get to see him in this episode. And we get to see Lando struck, if you will, with the sight of Damon back on campus, because he has been living his best life this year, getting closer to Simone, healing, pushing through, integrating himself into the friend group, basically assuming Damon's spot within the friend group, only for Damon to arrive. And you can see all of the fanfare, all the love that he still cultivates amongst the baseball team. So I could totally imagine Lando seeing the baseball team responding how they are, and then being like, well, wait till he gets to that damn loft, he's gonna run amok. But we're focusing on Damon. In addition to him coming back to, celebrate and be with the team that he is basically funding moving forward, thanks to his brother in that particular act, we also learned very quickly that Damon didn't just come back to support the baseball team, but he came back with the idea that him and Simone had accomplished the things that they said they were going to accomplish when they decided to go their separate ways at the start of this season. And ultimately, he was ready to get that old thing back. And while we don't get a full-on conversation of him expressing this to her, because she is preoccupied this episode with Lando and all that she wants to tell and be and do with that young man, that is something that is very much so on Damon's mind, and the audience is made aware of it even when Simone is not. And like I said, that was very frustrating for me, because I feel like they really did a disservice to the Damon character in this series midway through season 2 when they decided to fast track him into plots that were centered around Simone. Damon was a very strong character as we entered the series. I really looked at it from the very beginning like Damon and Simone were co-leads for this show, co-protagonists that provided the female and the male perspective at this HBCU in their respective sports, which provided really great balance. But the moment that not only they decided to dive into the Damon-ness of it all, because it's not even just about their ship, but when they decided to make Damon's personality be centered around his love and or lust for Simone, that is when we actually lost Damon. It was well before Peyton Alex Smith decided that he was not going to be returning to the show as a series regular. And honestly, I cannot blame him. In this episode, it was so hard to watch him staring at Simone, pining after Simone, seeing Simone in that daggone red dress, and knowing that he is still at the place that he was in that hallway when Simone broke it off with him, and he was so deeply hurt because he was so invested and wanted to be in that relationship, but he also cares about Simone enough that he wants to listen and give her what she wants. I am still of the camp of like, I didn't necessarily support or like the Damon relationship or ship them at all, but the character that they gave us in Damon liking Simone and being fully invested in Simone did feel very genuine, and those feelings didn't seem to go away. So it was very disheartening. It was kind of startling to watch Damon really pining after Simone and not even really being able to exit by getting his shit off. Like, he doesn't get to express himself. He doesn't get to declare his feelings. Even if he's not going, if he chose to not act on them, which we get to see in this episode, he basically kind of like relinquishes Simone to to Lando, and like kind of lets it go without even saying anything. But I would have much preferred him be able to say, like, I actually came back for you. The plan was for us to go and focus on ourselves. You did so, got cancer, got rid of cancer, froze your eggs, did all of this stuff without me, and I was still thinking about you all along, all the while you were falling in love with another man. I would have respected Damon more as a character if that was the case. And he doesn't necessarily have to have aggressive energy, but I don't appreciate them basically like whitewashing the feelings out of certain characters. They did the same thing with Thea as it pertains to her breakup with Damon. Like, one minute she was completely distraught, wanted him back, realized it was a mistake, was, green in and of itself within the relationship, and the next minute she's sitting next to him rooting for his baby on the tennis court, which is Simone, acting as if she has no feelings at all, as if her first love moving on to one of her close friends doesn't matter, isn't a factor at all. And I just don't believe that to actually be true. So Damon gets the same treatment in this episode, and it feels very inauthentic. It feels like a disservice to Damon, and it puts me in a very weird position because I'm leaving the series not knowing if I like the Damon character anymore, specifically because of this. And I hate that, because many of you guys know, if you've been here for any length of time, that I have been obsessed with the Damon character since we met him, with his arrogance, with his pursuit of Simone, like his desire for Simone. I really, really enjoyed him as a character, only for us to be arriving at the series finale, and I'm just like, I think I might be good on him. And I don't know how to deal. I talked about that as well in the live stream, but that is what went down with Damon in this episode. Moving on to his little big brother. And I'm saying little big brother because JR, while Damon was disserviced by the writers and what they chose to do with his character, JR is probably taking the biggest L as it pertains to the writing for certain characters, because not only did we see him fall from grace into a place of like making this untoward decision, betraying people that he loved, but in this episode, we get the confirmation of basically how passive he is as a character, and it's giving affirmation that he is a snake vibes because in this episode he is bringing Damon in to fund the baseball club, and oh yeah, that's great, but then talking to Damon about how he realized that he actually wants Keisha. And sir, it's been 3 to 4 episodes since the kiss. Keisha has been running around trying to do damage control, trying to put out fires left and right, trying to still show up for the man that she loves, even though he doesn't want to be there. And you are paying Gabby dust, she has to slap you, and then you coast for 2 episodes, and now all of a sudden you want Keisha and you're gonna go after her, so much so that you pop up at the loft when Cam is there, because spoiler alert, he wants her back as well, and y'all come face to face about that, and he can smell it on you. And in that moment, you don't even take Damon's advice of like, go and talk to Cam, because y'all actually had a relationship. Y'all had a brotherhood aside from the relationships, the romantic relationships that y'all had. Y'all actually had a connection. JR is moving like Cam has never meant anything to him. And since Cam has decided to basically write him off, as he should, because Cam has decided to sit in the betrayal that he's felt, as he should, JR is like, oh, there's nothing I could do. I wash my hands of it. It is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and get my girl. And even has the nerve to be like, well, since when was Keisha your girl? Because Cam responds to him like, what you want with my girl? JR, this is quite literally diabolical. And you moving not only with the pursuit of Keisha, which is less the problem for me of like, than the actual me clocking the fact that you don't actually really want Keisha. You want something to do, because if you wanted Keisha, you wouldn't let her sit up in your face the morning after the kiss and tell you, oh, this is how it's going to go. We're just going to tell him X, Y, and Z. And even if you did need processing time, we would have seen you actually being a little bit more active. You have run into Keisha, been with Keisha by yourself as well as around the group multiple times. And we got no whiff, no signs, no electricity, no energy to the fact that you actually want this girl. But then now all of a sudden at the last hour, because you get the baseball team funded and you need something else to do, now you want Keisha, and Gabby is completely a whole afterthought, and now we're supposed to buy it? We know what it looks like when a character really wants somebody. That is shown in Lando. We know what a character looks like when they're actually remorseful for cheating and want that person back. That looks like Keisha. You have done none of the other visible options, and you want us to believe that you want Keisha and actually deserve Keisha. It's given an absolute hell no, and you can actually go to hell. Immediately. It sucks, but JR was a snake from the very beginning. He ended the series as a snake, and he had a couple little bumps along the road which bumped him into, oh, this is actually a good man, and oh, he's kind of cool, which almost got me to believe and stay on the side of rooting for him. But I'm so glad I came back to my senses, and now I'm moving forward listening to my intuition. When Erica clocks a snake, y'all ass need to believe her, because I be knowing. I really be knowing. Moving on to the man of the hour, the man who this show was not necessarily about. However, by the very end, this is Cam's world, and we just saw some squirrels in it. Okay? Cam confused me so much at the top of this episode, but I absolutely loved what his arc was in this episode specifically, but then his arc overall within the series, because I looked at him like, why are you lying to Keisha about Big Hank not showing up? The girl was really just trying to make conversation at the little get together that they planned to congratulate Damon for getting the contract with the Detroit Tigers, because if this friend group going to do anything, it's going to put a bunch of people who have betrayed each other and who happen to be a part of the friend group but don't actually mess with each other no more. They're gonna put them all in the room. We're gonna act like we like each other just so we can support one another. Okay, cool. They lie, cool. Keisha rolls up and like, hey, I told Luann to like reach out to Big Hank. Did he show up? When Cam said no, I said, sir, what the hell is this about? Only for us to arrive midway through the episode and him to like process with Lando, which just added such nuance and such a dope layer. I love the relationship that they have been able to cultivate, not only as frat brothers, but as roommates. And as Lando has further integrated into the group, he has really moved into that brother spot that JR used to occupy in Cam's life. And I love that for the both of them, because they offer each other really amazing advice. But he gets to process like why he lied to Keisha and why it was so natural to do so. And then he actually articulates it to Keisha later about how it felt weird to start to talk about the future when they had done this already within the relationships and it had included them both. So to talk about the future, not including her in it, he wasn't actually comfortable with on a subconscious level. I'm just like, we love an emotional king. We love a vulnerable king, and even an emotional king who doesn't even know in the moment why he's emotionally responding that way, but he's willing to be open enough to do the deep dive that needs to be done to figure it out. Cam is quite literally y'all man's prototype. He is very masculine, but also very in touch with his feelings. He has cultivated a certain level of emotional intelligence and effective communication, and we love to see it. It's giving elite in the manhood department, and I absolutely love that for him. And it was such a dope cherry on top of what we have seen from the Cam character throughout his run in the All-American universe as a whole, not just with All-American Homecoming. I felt like his storyline in particular just did a really great job of exemplifying who the Cam is that we're leaving this series with. And it was such a pleasant surprise because, like, I started this section off talking about how this show wasn't about Cam, but he immediately, or like not immediately, he became a star in and of his own right, and he's exiting the show being one of the most remarkable, compelling characters in it. And I'm so glad that this spinoff has had him. Now, if Cam is the MVP of this series, then Keisha is getting the Most Improved Player award, because in this episode we get to see her settle into a nice place of confidence and peace within her singledom. So she's not kicking herself anymore for the transgression that she had, but she is still living in a space of accountability, and she's really focused on moving forward and how she can be proactive in furthering her career and the things that she wants to do. She's presented with a dilemma of the tour being pushed up and her having to miss finals, and for whatever reason she needs JR, I believe it was JR, to say like, oh, well, won't you just bump up your final? I think she could have figured it out on her own, but they just needed a moment for JR to be able to see her again, I guess. And she, gets her professors to agree to give her finals early, and one of which is her dance practicum. Her dance partner winds up having spraining his ankle, so he can't actually perform with her. And part of Cam's arc is that he decides to perform with her once he finds out that she needs somebody, and it creates such a beautiful moment of art imitating life. Like, their dance sequence, which in the story is choreographed by Keisha, also just beautifully visually mirrors what their love story has been, and you feel every beat, every moment. You can actually see it in the movements that they display together. And I thought that it was like one of the best moments of the visually of the finale. It just drove home exactly who this couple was, how important they were, and also gave us hope for where they could be as we exit the series, now that they both have learned, gone through some things, and are a little bit better in touch with their feelings and can speak to where they are with their feelings. Now, aside from her drama, as I mentioned in the Cam section, she goes to Cam and she's just like making small talk of like, oh, I tried to get Hank to come, yada, yada, yada. And then, Cam lies. She figures out that Cam lies and goes to confront him about it. And I actually really appreciated her doing it, because this did not read like her centering herself in Cam's life or trying to pull the attention back onto her like a lot of the characters tend to do, Simone Hicks. But it, to me, just showed exactly how much she really did care. And I think that she asked because she wanted to have a better understanding. And while she's not in a place in this episode where we see her actually pursuing the romantic love, she is pursuing showing up as a better friend to Cam, and she can't actually do that if he's lying about the fruits of some of her labor. And this also prompts him to like really think about why he lied and like be able to communicate that to her. And I thought that Keisha is the most improved person, because one, being able to see her be settled and not anxious about, oh, Cam's not with me and not checking for me and I'm not with anybody, is a big thing, because I believe her character to be a character that struggled with being alone, which is why she relationship hop, which is why she had her little hoe phases and all of that. So the confidence that she is displaying at the top of this episode and being single and being focused on her future is beautiful, while still being able to show up for Cam, not because she necessarily owes him, even though she kind of does owe him. He has done a lot in the relationship. It just shows so much growth. And now it's unfortunate that the kiss with JR is the thing that had to put a lot into perspective for her to see all of the blind spots that she had in the relationship, but also to see the blind spots that she had in maintaining the core, the foundational friendship with Cam, right? And in this episode, her interactions with Cam really show her that she's learned her lesson and that she's actually working to not eradicate, but like to make up for the transgressions that happened from her leaning into her blind spots, from her leaning into her insecurities previously. And it was really dope to watch, because while she was in moments thinking about her feelings of like, why did you lie to me? I don't like that you lied to me. But she was doing it from a curious place to better understand Cam and figure out what exactly he needed and what she could do. And this ultimately, I think, is the thing that starts to pull Cam back in and help Cam realize that he really does want to be with Keisha, and he really does, you know, miss that relationship. But he walked away from Keisha, as we saw in previous episodes, simply because he could not maintain the relationship in a one-sided way that it was. And in this episode, we get to see that if presented with the opportunity, Keisha is out of her selfish phase. Keisha is out of her insecure phase. She knows exactly what she has. She knows exactly what she did wrong, and she knows exactly what she would do to do better. And it's like, not us ready to actually move to the next level and to recommit to this relationship and it actually go somewhere. Y'all know I am here for a romantic relationship where the people are equally yoked, where the people are invested in serving one another and providing each other with whatever the person's strengths are, you giving your partner the best of you, and then that filling whatever holes they have, that helping them along, that pushing them to progress. I think that that would be dope. And I do have a video coming to further expound upon Keisha and Cam and if I believe that they should actually be together. So this won't be touched on in this video, but I do have a video coming to detail that, because I really appreciated what we got by way of the Cam and Keisha storylines in this finale. Now moving on to little Miss Nate. And when you miss, Miss Mamas, you miss. You don't miss often, but baby, you miss hard. Because Nate, what exactly did you think you were doing? We're going to go and compromise the trust in our relationship. We're going to completely dismiss our partner's job, the confidentiality that is required for them to do and excel in their job in that way, because we have a righteous idea and we believe ourselves to have the moral high ground, that we're going to go and look in our partner's journal and out someone who specifically asked for anonymity because Ezra needs some other victims to come forward so that his attackers can't take a plea deal. And there was no other way to figure this out. And there was no conversation that you could have had with your partner. I 100% understand why Nate's boyfriend broke up with her, as he should, because Nate's decision to go behind his back, to go into his stuff, to find this person and to convince this person to come forward, 100% was a selfish decision, and it showed a lack of respect, not only for their relationship, but for her partner's position and all of the responsibility and authority that comes with it. And I hate it because Nate is such a well-balanced character. Nate is typically a very pragmatic character, providing all of the really dope advice, whether it's like the push that people need to believe in themselves or like the grounding and the check of like, girl, you be tripping. Nate is the person that typically provides that. So for us to be in the finale and her to make such a reckless, impulsive, self-righteous decision, it was kind of disheartening. However, I do appreciate her having to suffer the consequences, which is losing your love behind this. I don't think that there was anything wrong with Nate losing the relationship, because that feels like a very authentic consequence, and that's how the cookie crumbles. Now, aside from that, Nate does get a win at the very beginning of the episode, getting an acceptance letter to Brixton Law. As we saw midway through this season, she was initially waitlisted, which really broke her heart, but at the top of this episode, she gets the acceptance letter. So I guess they're giving, a little bit of balance, a win in this area and then you lose in love, and then now Nate has to figure it out. And this is a great time for me to plug what I think happens after the finale. I do have a video where I'm going to give you guys all of my thoughts on what happens with every single character, where they are after the end of the series, or where we can actually anticipate them going. And I cannot wait to share, not only because I want y'all to know my thoughts on it, but I can't wait to see what y'all's thoughts are and where do you predict these characters go. So look out for that, because I will have that video coming. And of course, you have to be subscribed so you know when that video drops. Okay? Now, moving on from Nate to her best friend, one of her best friends, Thea. And I really wish that we would have gotten more of their relationship, their friendship throughout this series. However, we kind of lost the moment that they abandoned the Damon and Thea storyline. I think that Thea was getting the most character development. Thea was getting the most attention when they actually put her romantically with Damon. And then once they abandoned that, she kind of fell by the wayside and just became a prop. And unfortunately, the on-screen displays of her relationship with Nate also suffered as well. I do believe Nate is Thea's closest friend on campus, and I could totally see their relationship progressing and them staying BFFs through their adulthood. However, we don't necessarily get a full visual to confirm that. But part of Thea's story in this is warning Nate early on, like, girl, this is what your man is doing, but then don't trip because you wanted to get all hyper fixated and focused and like you wanted to go and out this person when they ask for anonymity, but you know that your man values journalistic integrity and is not going to play that. But then also Thea winds up being the one to big up other people. Y'all, the biggest thing that really pissed me off with the Thea character in this episode is them having her be excited for Damon, talking about, oh, I'm so glad I'm back in town so I can have this moment. And he is not even dropped in the moments that he gets to hug her. He is half looking and focusing and looking around the room for Simone Hicks while he has Thea Mays in his arms. And I'm just like, ugh, the way the writers really want to have this axe to grind. And I'm just like, y'all were not gonna to let this series go without doing Thea Mays like this, huh? Now, we also don't get full conclusive evidence that she's back on the pro circuit and doing well, but the alluding to like, oh, she had to fly in, and oh, there's like a off the cuff mention of her being back, basically seemingly like they pointing to, okay, she decided to go back to the pro circuit, and Coach Lonnie may have done what she needed to do to further push Thea back into the space and like helping her to get better. But again, we don't get a ton in reference to Thea in this episode, and it really kind of sucks. She's just here to support her little Brinkston family, and that's it. That's all. Such a beautiful character that they completely abandoned story-wise, and now we just have the memories of nuance and complex character paths. Now, I'm gonna just go ahead right into little Miss Simone Hicks, because this is who the show is about, right? Everybody, the world rises and sets on Simone's ass. In this episode, we get to see her struggle because it picks up right where episode 12 left off with the rival team leaking that Simone was taking performance enhancing drugs. The best part about her story in this episode was the start, where she is not shaken or stirred, and she's just like, I'm not saying anything. The NCAA is going to have to come out and clear my name because they know I'm not doing that. They know what's actually going on, and nobody needs to know about my cancer or about my treatment. And I was like, yes, if I would have watched Simone go into like putting out a 3-alarm fire mode just behind this after she's already gone through this, as the reporter brought up in their damn interview of like she accidentally took some performance enhancing stuff way back when, I would have been so pissed, because it would have literally showed that the girl has not grown and she's just going to completely be erratic all the time. So I did appreciate that, of her being like, I don't have to tell you and or you nada. And it's just going to be like that. Even so, you know, when Tootie comes up to her and Tootie's trying to give her this guilt train of like, oh, I would have think that you would trust me by now, and our team is sucking because we don't know what's going on with you, and things have been off. I'm just like, if y'all can't get this ball over this net because Simone won't tell you that she had cancer, then y'all asses need to get dropped from the team, and we need to go ahead and have tryouts, because y'all just won't know. If you won't win a championship because you can't be all up in my business, then I guess we're going to be a sorry sack of losers, because who thinks, or what makes you think that you are actually entitled to my damn business? Y'all are focusing on the wrong damn things. And I think that has been a pervasive thing about this tennis team. I could not imagine being a team that's actually pursuing any type of excellence, pursuing any type of championship, and my excuses after excuse after excuse is, oh, people aren't coming to my game, so I can't win. Simone won't tell me that she had cancer and then froze her egg, so I can't win. Y'all cut the please. Cut it. Now, I just got off of Simone, but that's like tied to her character, because this is all her business, and that became a whole moment. I was just like, y'all are really trying it with that, but I guess, okay. Now, also in this episode, we get to see Simone basically pay Damon dust, because she's so focused on Lando that she's paying Damon dust. And I think that they did her character disservice, because this for me just solidified the fact that Simone is a very transactional and selfish character. The way that we have watched Lando not only fight his feelings, but fight the idea of being her friend at the top of this season, only for her to not let him, for him to let his guard down, and show how beautiful it is when he opens opens up and he integrates into the friend group, but he also leans into all the things that he actually wanted to do as a friend to Simone, only for her to arrive at this place. Damon is now an MLB person, like not even a hopeful, he's an actual MLB player. He's come back with all of his big feelings tied to y'all's breakup and like basically had pressed pause, and you don't even have the time in the day to honor that and create space for him to express that. You are paying him dust because you're so focused on Lando, as if Damon wasn't your friend before he was your lover. But y'all wanted me to root for Damon. Yeah, it's giving H double. No, hell no. I was so disappointed in the fact that she could not create space for Damon, not necessarily to give him what he wanted in reference to get into a romantic relationship with him, but like give him space, give him opportunity to express himself, to communicate. And maybe it doesn't have to be the professing of his love for her, but for her to just basically honor what they were and what they had. She paid him dust. And in my live stream, I coined this of like, she literally treated Damon like he is a where's my hug nigga. And if y'all know, you know, if you're a woman, you know, we hate those dudes. Those dudes are the awkward, weird dudes that we don't want to give affection or attention to because you make it weird, you make us uncomfortable. And Damon was never that guy. Damon has done a lot for Simone, just like a lot of other characters. And the fact that she in this moment, because she's so focused on Lando romantically, cannot see any type of need to provide any energy or effort towards Damon, it just reaffirms exactly how selfish and how one-track minded she is, which to me doesn't set her up to be in a beautiful place to show up for Lando. Because the same way that Lando was able to get into a relationship but still show up for Simone as a friend, she should be able to be in a relationship with Lando and still show up for Damon as a friend. And I'll detail that in another video because I really want to explore that. Some people was getting mad in the live stream because like y'all was like, well, what do you expect Simone to do? Be a better human, not openly welcome everybody else moving mountains and creating so much space for her to fall, for her to fail, for her to fumble, for her to win, for her to push for some outrageous stuff, and they just go along with her kooky ass plans. But then when it comes time for her to honor other people's feelings, when it comes time for her to see people, when it comes time for her to show up for people the way that people show up for her, she don't do it. That's a problem. And it sucks because at the end, she kind of gets the win because she gets Lando, and even how she handled that, I'm going to talk about that, was ridiculous. But Lando has grown and leaped mountains to get to a place where he is just so dropped in, not only to who he is and what he wants, but specifically what he provides and how he could be of great service. And now he's in a relationship with someone who is not fully of service to others, which could be a complete and utter setup for failure for him. And I'm going to point to how she's not able to be of service to Lando, specifically in how she responds to Lando saying, I can't trust you. In that moment, Simone leaned back into, this is all about me. And she took no time to think, why would Lando feel this way? Where are these feelings coming from? What can I do to help him work through these feelings? What do I need to do to help Lando trust me, trust my love for him, trust his love in me? No, I'm Simone Hicks, and the sun rises and sets on my ass. So if he tells me that he don't trust me, then he's the problem, and I'm going to go ahead and avoid him and act like he don't exist. It is not until Lando runs up on her at Noah's little appointment and like, girl, you cannot be avoiding me. Like, these are all the reasons why I said that, and I'm sorry, but I do love you, yada, yada, yada. If it wasn't for Lando coming back to the girl, she would have left it at, oh, I want to be with you because I want to, and completely negate and dismiss the fact that the boy has very real feelings and very real trust issues with you. And rightfully so. You picked a whole other man over him. You have been the only person that he has been 100% open with, has been nice to, has given any type of humanity to. And then you decided to choose a whole nother man and then tell him that you did it because you felt obligated, not because you didn't have the same feelings for him. And then now y'all in the moment of the precipice of what could be your relationship, and you can't even create space to honor, like, I get why you wouldn't trust me, but I promise I wouldn't do you like that again. You can't even do that. You need this boy to chase you after he already chased you and lost. Simone Hicks beefing for real. And I'm not fully disappointed in what we got in reference to her in this story. and the finale, because this has been who Simone has been in the All-American Homecoming side of the universe. She has leaned into her Olivia Baker bag. She has been a very selfish, non-consequence experiencing main character, and I'm just not surprised. I just wish for more, because it doesn't actually show as much growth as she could have experienced over the course of this series, and it really kind of sucks. Now, speaking of Lando for me is right behind Cam as it pertains to overall growth, not even just within this episode, but in the series as a whole. Specifically, this season has been wonderful for him. And some people will argue it's because Damon isn't actually here, which could be true. He feels less intimidated because he doesn't have that internal conflict with Damon not being present, so he has allowed himself to open up. But I would argue that he probably could have done this with Damon still there if Simone wasn't paying his ass dust like she had been once she got into the relationship with Damon. But all of that is neither here nor there. I really appreciate where he has gone, like where he's come from and where he has gone. In this season, we get to see him open up again, integrate into the friend group, be a really strong pillar and a resource for Simone. And he does it because he genuinely cares about this woman, not just because he cares about sticking parts to him and the parts of her. And y'all know I'm like down bad for men who value women, like truly value women, and I think that Cam and Lando are two men that exemplify that very beautifully. Again, I really hate the fact that he was so honest and vulnerable about his feelings and about his insecurity around his feelings, only to be met with having to chase Simone down and to reprofess and to create a more safe space for her versus her creating a safe space for him, which makes me so worried about where this relationship could go and if Simone is going to hurt him, whether in the near or distant future. But I do appreciate I do appreciate Lando for who he has been in the series, and I didn't necessarily have a problem with him in the finale. I just wanted more for him because he has done so much work. We have watched him evolve, and I think that he deserves better than who Simone is as we exit the series. And then, of course, he does a really great job of supporting Cam in this episode. And then he is there front row and center to capture the dance, which is the thing that helps spur him into going to profess his love for Simone, because he gets all the feels and seeing the Keisha and Cam love story playing out through dance. And we get it. You all inspired by it and you want love too. So, okay, cool. We just pray that the girl don't do you dirty. Now, in other, not necessarily inconsequential, but like other news, Marcus and Amara meet up again in this episode. Amara is feeling empowered as the president of Brinkston now that she's served for a couple months under the VP and her initiatives for HBCUs. The board is giving her a little bit more credence and a little bit more respect, and she talks about that at the very beginning of the episode when she runs into Marcus, who is basically filling out something so that Noah can get checked for bipolar, because JR said that he got bipolar, so he must have bipolar. Shout out to Marcus for doing his due diligence and actually getting the boy evaluated, because we come to find out that he don't actually have it, because Dr. JR is barely a damn engineer and definitely not a damn doctor. And then we also get the teasing between Amara and Marcus, with him like being excited, like, oh, I'm glad we can still do this, which is the back and forth banter. And then when we get to the actual appointment, Noah's mom only shows up because Amara basically hassled her and begged her to come and show up, not only for her son, but for Marcus, and be there and be present. So this, for me, just really alluded to Marcus and Amara are going to make their way back to one another. Amara seemingly is at a place where she is ready to forgive, and she realizes how much she misses Marcus. And this is just affirmed by the conversation that she has with Simone in this episode about seeing an ex and feelings coming up and all of that. So that's just the other little thing I'm not going to speak too much about, but that actually happens. And I think that that is the thorough full breakdown of the All-American Homecoming series finale. I have been talking for so long. I didn't expect for this video to be this long. Y'all, we also have a 4-hour live stream which broke down this episode, so you can check this out after the fact. Like, I'll put it up on the screen right here, but I would love to hear your thoughts about any of the storylines, any of your favorite characters, what happened in the finale, how you feel about where you think these characters would have gone if we would have gotten a season 4 or season 5. Drop all of that in the comment section down below so that we can keep the All-American Homecoming conversations going. It's your good sis, you Let's Talk TV with, and I'm going to see you in a couple more All-American Homecoming videos. Stay tuned.